Hi guys, welcome to another video. Hope you're all keeping well. For this video I'd like to do a movie review relating to a horror movie that I watched the other night on Amazon Prime, and that movie is called Malignant. Now Malignant is a 2021 horror thriller directed by James Wan, basically about this young woman called Madison Lake, played by Annabelle Wallace. Now she starts she's got this abusive husband and that, and he knocks her about and that. So basically the film opens up like after a sort of like a sort of like preliminary scene in a hospital involving this strange a patient called Gabriel. The movie then switches to the main protagonist, Madison Lake, and you see her at home like with her husband's and that, and he sort of like attacks her and he bangs her head against the wall, and as a result of that, you know, her head starts bleeding, and she goes to sleep, and then when she wakes up, she finds her husband's dead, and then from there on she gets all these sorts of weird visions of murders and that actually turn out to be true. So basically that's the story. She's the main protagonist, and as I say, she has these weird visions and that of this sort of like weird figure called Gabriel, and you don't really know whether he's real or whether he's a figment of her imagination. Now the movie is basically it's a kind of a hybrid movie really, because it starts off like in typical James Wan style. You've got like the sort of like the spooky house and that, and the figure popping up and that, and you've got the atmosphere of the haunted house and that he's become so synonymous for with his horror movies. But then about the last third of the movie, it jumps from a kind of a horror movie to a kind of a superhero action movie, because there's a lot of CGI used in that. I mean, I don't want to give away too much of it in case you haven't seen it, but I didn't find it in the least bit scary at all, guys. I mean, I thought the choreography was quite good, and the acting, it wasn't really great really, but it didn't really frighten me, to be honest. In fact, I thought it was quite a bizarre movie, you know, and it's not really. I think you would tend to laugh at this more than you would scream at it. Which, according to the reviews I've read, a lot of people actually did laugh at it. You know, they thought it was like a crazy movie, very bizarre movie. I didn't like the detectives either. They thought they were very, very incompetent in that. You know, I mean, for instance, when the main guy, the main, inspector, the main chief, he sort of like encounters this weird serial killer called Gabriel. He actually chases him, through the streets and that. And then what happens is, after that, he interviews Maddie, the main protagonist, in a police station, and he ends up putting her in prison when in actual fact he actually witnessed this Gabriel character. So there's a couple of plot holes in this movie, guys, that just stood out like a sore thumb. And I was so looking forward to watching this, because I've heard it's a kind of a Marmite movie. It's a very sort of like, it polarizes a lot of people's opinions. Some hate it, some love it, and I don't think me personally, I don't think I'll be adding it to my collection. I mean, I wanted to like this movie very much in that, and again, the trailer, you can't really go by the trailer, because it doesn't really give anything away at all, about this story. It's just a crazy movie, guys. I mean, I know a lot of people like it, and I'm not criticising people. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but it wasn't for me. I mean, I don't think I'll be adding it to my collection. I thought the story was a bit far-fetched. The idea of this sort of like a twin, sort of like laying dormant for so many years in Maddie's body, and then sort of like getting sort of like awakened by a bump on the head. Yeah, I thought it was a bit, and the way he was sort of like doing like the kung fu. How did he learn how to do all the kung fu and that? I mean, there's a couple of scenes where he's in the police station, and where he wipes out basically all the police officers and that, and it was very, very reminiscent of a Marvel superheroes movie. I mean, I don't know about police officers. I think he needed the whole blooming Justice League of America to come in and help to tackle this monster hybrid guy, this Gabriel creature, or whatever you'd like to call him. And then there's another scene where Maddie's put in a jail cell, and she gets all these like 70s style inmates and that, tough looking, and you start picking on it, and then she sort of like gets a sort of like an alter ego, this like kind of gay. I mean, I don't want to give away too much about it, but it's a kind of an alter ego. He comes to the rescue, and he sort of like starts fighting with all the women in the prison, and sort of like picking them off one by one. Yeah, I thought it was a very far-fetched movie, guys. Malignant. Yeah, I thought the story could have been better. And for all those people who start off thinking, as I did, it's going to be a good real haunted house movie, as the film goes on, it proves to be something more than that, and I think it does sort of like, it does fall flat on its face, the direction it took, really. You know, and then the character as well, Maddie, I thought, you know, she wasn't very convincing, and the wig she wore as well, you know, I mean, they could have got a better wig in that, you know, to sort of like, for her appearance and that. Yeah, it wasn't scary at all. I must admit, though, some of the killings were pretty gory, you know, because this Gabriel character, you don't really know who he is, really. But as the film goes on, you sort of like gradually put two and two together. He's sort of like, for instance, these doctors that were at the beginning of the movie, where you see the doctors in the prison sort of like prison setting. He picks these doctors off one by one using like this sort of like one of the doctors, because she got like an award, like a gold award, like a sword, and he starts picking them up, stabbing them to death with the sort of like this sword and that. But yeah, the killings are pretty gory, but again, it's not really a scary movie. I think it's more of a parody, to be honest with you. I think maybe James Wan was a little bit self-aware. All right, I know he wanted to do, from what I've read, he wanted to do something a little bit different. He wanted to bring back some of the, you know, the old horror tropes and that, like the 80s and the 70s. But I think, you know, he was a little bit self-aware when he made this movie, because it does seem to be a kind of a self-parody, you know, of all that's gone before, really. Yeah, I didn't think the main entity, you know, Gabriel, was very scary. You know, this weird sort of like black figure with this long coat on. He looks something like out of the Matrix, really. And I didn't like the CGI. I mean, I've said this before, I've said it again. You can make a good horror movie without having to resort to CGI, and I think it was a bit overused in this movie, guys, to be honest. You know, I could have done without this Marvel style, you know, sort of like fighting and that, you know, and then walking backwards and all that. Yeah, it was, as I say, it started off like a creepy supernatural thriller, and I must admit, for the first half hour or so, I was getting into the movie. I thought to myself, I was rubbing my hands like, I thought, oh, this is going to be a good thrill ride. But as the movie went on and on, you know, just went down and down, guys, me view of it and that. I don't think I will be adding it to my, you know, horror movie collection. But as I say, that's just my opinion. I know it's a very polarising movie. A lot of people like it, a lot of people loathe it. But yeah, I didn't really hate it, but then again, I didn't really like it, if you know what I mean. I thought it was a pretty average movie. I certainly didn't think it was a horrifying movie. Yeah. Okay, guys, so on to a rating now for Malignant. I think I give it maybe, I don't know, 5 out of 10. Yeah, yeah, the killers were good in that, and I like the sort of like some of the locations were good. Oh, another thing I thought was a little bit far-fetched. They put this sort of like where what's the name was originally held, Gabriel and Maddie, if you like, were held in this like big mental hospital. They perched it on this cliff edge, and then you see Maddie's sister driving up there on her own, just to sort of like look through the records and that. And I thought to myself, well, if that isn't you know, a weird horror trope, what is? You know, you've got this big, scary looking mental who'd build a mental hospital on the edge of a cliff in such a dark, you know, sort of like desolate setting, you know, you know, I thought that was a bit far-fetched, and she went there on her own and that, to sort of like go through the records and that of her sister and that, the way she was treated and that. And apparently she was adopted, a sister, but there's a little mystery there surrounding her, you know, the circumstances surrounding her adoption. But yeah, I thought there was, you know, some of the tropes, guys, were a bit well used and that, you know, and you know, I must admit at times were a little bit boring, you know, and I say that the police detectives are very, very incompetent. Yeah. Okay, guys, so yeah, I'm sorry I can't give a better review of Malignant. I thought it was a pretty average movie. It certainly wasn't scary, and I think it was more self-aware, more of a parody than anything, to be honest with you. Yeah. But having said that, as I said, that's just my opinion. You know, I know a lot of people like it, and yeah, I'm not saying, if you haven't seen it, I'm not saying don't go and watch it, because you might like it. You know, it's a Marmite movie. You either like it or you loathe it. Yeah. But as I say, it's a one watch for me only, guys. I won't be going back and revisiting Malignant. Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, that's it. Hope to be doing in my next video. I hope to be doing a show of all the movies I got for Christmas. You know, both I bought myself or what I got as presents. So stay tuned for that. Okay, guys. If you liked the video, please feel free to share, subscribe, comments, And yeah, all going well. I will talk to you all again soon. Thank you. If you enjoyed watching this video, guys, you might like to check out my website at www.alantoner.com. You'll be able to find out a little bit more about my work as a writer and all the books I have published to date. Thanks for watching.